it all went quiet. Then somebody said, somebody under a lorry. I knew it was Jill.
Listen to the wind. If you listen to the voice inside, you will not have to ask me again.
The animal liberation movement is a compassionate movement. It's made up of people who really care and who are very willing to put their lives and freedom on the line to save animals. Unfortunately, those people that are torturing animals or that are fighting for laws to keep animals exploited are violent. And we've seen that when they've hurt and killed other human beings in the movement. I read a book called Free the Animals by Ingrid Newkirk. It hit me so hard. It was so fascinating to learn about the early days of the Animal Liberation Front and to read about the individual struggles of those men and women who put their masks on in the middle of the night and go and save those animals that are being tortured and commit acts of sabotage and break the law to help animals.
My decision to engage in serious criminal activity was a conscious decision I made as an individual solely because I felt that the consequences were acceptable.
Rod Coronado is an important individual in the animal liberation movement because he's done so many things to bring awareness about the plight of animals. He started Operation Bite Back, which was years of animal liberations, economic sabotage, which really brought forth the atrocities that occur in laboratories to animals in vivisection, fur farms, all kinds of animal exploitation.
The chances of dying in an auto accident are much greater than that being captured doing a hunt sabotage or an animal liberation. And every day we take those risks knowingly and unknowingly, but yet are hesitant to do the risks that matter the most to our conscious and ourselves and our future. Earth First in Sabino Canyon, Tuesday morning. We're on top of the hunters. We will not let them move forward without a fight. What has most pushed me to making the decision to engage in direct action has been just knowing that if we do not take action, nobody's going to hear the cries of these animals, nobody's going to see the destruction of this earth, nobody's going to hear about what is happening.
Better switch your camera off.
Here is a father and two sons and two other people who are shooting prairie dogs, potentially illegally, directly towards and hence over the railroad tracks, which I believe is illegal. So we're here to document that. They don't like being watched. Our sole objective in the campaign that I was convicted for was to prevent the mink farm industry from increasing its efficiency.
Well, when they've bitten you 3 times, to hear that neck pop, it feels so good.
I was never any good at breaking their necks, so we do it with electric. Put one clip right on their genitals, and the other clip on their rear.
Our actions against Michigan State University were also, in our minds, necessary because the fur farm industry was an industry that was completely legal. It had no humane standards. There was no licensing. It was simply an industry that was allowed to self-govern itself, and so of course, in such an atmosphere, there was incredible cruelty. After witnessing the atrocities that I have on fur farms, I had to do everything that I personally could do to stop it. I looked at the industry from the perspective of somebody who had just finished a 1-year undercover investigation of it. I identified half a dozen targets that I thought were crucial to its further propagation, and we neutralized those targets. I would love nothing more than to just rescue animals from places of abuse. But in this capitalist-driven society, just because animals go missing does not mean that they're not going to be replaced. All that a researcher has to do is get on the phone to Charles River and order some more research animals, and they'll be there within a week. So it was because of that that we started employing arson.
I do believe in the here and now that animals must be rescued, must, have their pain alleviated. I mean, if, for example, there was, an adult abusing a child, we would remove that child. We wouldn't accept any reasons or excuses for that. And I just use the same theory, the same tactic to animals. In my view, laws are not set in stone, and laws throughout the decades have been altered by public consensus, public protest, and I don't believe that you can ever challenge a law without the use of direct action. In the mid-1990s, I was part of an operation against an abattoir, a slaughterhouse in the west side of the country, which involved firebombing of 12 vehicles, including delivery vans and individual cars. We also broke into the abattoir itself and set fire to the interior of the premises. And I was arrested and charged and imprisoned for that offence. If you're doing arson, you have to be very careful to minimise all the risks associated. Preparation and reconnaissance took us about a month and a half, 2 months. A lot of surveillance had to be done on the place to ascertain there'd be no humans or animals in the area.
It's very easy to prevent human fatalities from carrying out direct action.
So we checked the interior and exterior doors, the roofs, possible places of entry and exit.
For every direct action that has ever been taken, there are probably half a dozen that were not taken because of the threat to human or animal life.
we deliberately created fuses that would ignite while we were still there. So we had an element of control over the situation before we left. In this case, the implications of actually rescuing farm animals is immense, simply because of where to put them, if nothing else. But if you close the slaughterhouse down, and you would do for a few months at least, and their premiums shoot up through the roof, and so it becomes much more of an expensive business. So the profit they're making from killing animals in the first place can either be tempered or sometimes countered by economic sabotage. So the money they're making from animals is no longer cost effective. So in that respect, damage was done, and so I consider that a successful operation.
You have to ask yourself, why are some of these groups going to these extremes? And I think in general, when you feel as an individual that you can't get your